Rights, the Convention on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and Declaration of Principles for Victims of Abuses of Power. Actually, I don't even have the Rome statutes there, because those are the ones that I first looked at, and here, these are all of the violations. And to go back to the International Convention on Civil Rights and Civil and Political Rights, and International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, those actually, after World War II, those conventions were actually one convention to begin with. And Eleanor Roosevelt was very much involved in that. This is from another book. In fact, there's 4 volumes. It's all on the human rights. I still haven't finished all of them. But Eleanor Roosevelt was involved in that, and she fought. But those 2 conventions, they were separated into 2 conventions because the African Americans were at the time going to go to the international courts with that for genocide against the Americans. So they split up the conventions, which really doesn't make any sense why that would have stopped the African Americans, because they just take both of the conventions. I mean, it's this stupid linear logic that I'll have to find out what the logic is there, because if they do that, I'm like, okay, well, you got 2 conventions. Instead of 1, I'll just take you on 2. If I quote it here, I quote it there, and you know. But, so this way, I guess it was the Americans, or maybe this was the reason, it made the Americans look good. They were able to, what was it? I forget if it, yeah, they were the civil and political rights, you know, gurus and defenders. And the Russians were able to go on the economic, social, and cultural rights as the defenders of those rights. And so, though, you know, each government grabbed on to one of the conventions saying that they were the human rights defenders. I think that's probably was kind of how the rationale came in with the powers that be. Then here we can grab on to this one as we're the human rights defenders under the civil and political. And I guess maybe then why the civil rights movement became a civil rights movement instead of a human rights movement. And it just was called a civil rights movement, maybe because it was, you know, under this convention, or the principles that they were fighting for were under that convention. I'm not really sure. Speculation. But that's the reason why they were split up. Because the architects got wind that the African Americans were going to be using it against them. So they're like, oh God, no. Can't use it against the Americans. We can use it against everybody else, but not the Americans. And see, this has been one of the huge problems from the very beginning of the Bretton Woods. They've been in bed with the Americans and the Europeans. And you know, Western civilization and those interests, the government interest, not the interest of the people. And I'm still waiting for a book that I ordered on, it's called White Trash. And this gets into some really interesting stuff about how this is really a class struggle rather than a racial struggle. And it's to the advantage of the Koch brothers, who are vying for the power in the class struggle, that everybody believes that it is a racial struggle. Because, quite frankly, the integration of the races, after we got rid of the governments keeping us separate, that came pretty quick. And you have all sorts of interracial marriages these days, except in some pockets, most people won't accept racial slurs anymore, or derogatory words and comments. Although I still think we really still need a real discussion between the various races, because there's all sorts of stuff that people are saying, but that's racist. I'm like, that's not racist. One of my favorite examples was I was taking a reservation. This was at Succotash. I was taking a reservation one time, and I don't know, I got distracted or something happened or whatever. I didn't get the name. And so I said, oh, an Asian family, I could tell from either the accent or the name or whatever. I mean, they were like, this is racist. I said, why is that racist? Asian people come in for a party of, it was a little larger party, asking for a table of 7. Maybe it wasn't that big, because anything bigger than 6 needed the manager's approval. I was like, my lord, you people, if you can't, if I need a table of 6, I needed a manager's approval, you people aren't going to last. Anybody who invested with Succotash and Mi Vida, write it off already. You're going to be losing your shirt with them. But I was like, why is this racist? That's just like saying, you see the black man over there, you see the white woman over there, or you see the woman with the blonde hair, or you see the brunette over there. Now, if I was to say something derogatory, about, oh, you see, yet that another stupid blonde over there. Now, okay, that's not real well. Another stupid white blonde. That might get a little racist. Although, me being white, I kind of am given a license to be derogatory towards my own race. This is also where we're kind of hypocritical, is, I'm not allowed to say anything derogatory about somebody, that is black, or, the blacks, the browns, the yellows. If I say anything about the person, I'm not going to attack them on their skin color or anything like that. Believe me, I'm an egalitarian. Totally egalitarian. Believe me, I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. Any of that stuff. If you're an SOB or a social climbing whore, because I'm sorry, that's what you women are. You will sell your souls and your bodies. I have a hell of a lot more respect for women out there who sell their bodies but not their souls. All of you, socialite women who look down on prostitutes, you should take a look in the mirror. Take a look in the mirror. Because believe me, what's been produced here, this is on you. It's what the socialite women and the ruling elite women of society will accept. Where the hell are all of the IMF wives, the World Bank, the UN wives? Oh, no, they're too off at their country clubs while their kids are going to the prep schools and the Ivy League schools that the taxpayers are paying for. So they can, in their turn, become the new narcissistic ruling elite. And you see how the cycle keeps on and keeps on and keeps on. And anybody who opposes any of this gets ousted, gets shut up, gets destroyed, sacrificial lamb. It's the same thing. I mean, this is, the whole, this is where I'm going to be going up against Sharmini Corey, where they're up here. Oh, here. This is all the IMF. Sharmini Corey, Gina Paoni, Kate Phillips, Adrian Thapa. Now, you guys want to play hardball? We play hardball. See, and I'm sure all of these people are going to come crying to me when we get to the end of it, and they realize they're losing their homes. I mean, Mark Lewis's ex-wife, because I wanted to make the point that even the ex-wives who are sitting in the $1 million homes, you're going to be losing that home, because those assets were accumulated from the salary of the thieves who have been in power. And see, as she said, they don't care. They don't care. See? He got eggs thrown at him when he's in Turkey giving a speech, and the comments say it should have been axes or grenades. Okay. They close them up in the ivory tower. Anybody who says anything against this, anybody who dissents, get rid of them. You should have seen it in the annual meetings in 2016 when I'm marching around with my banners, because I'm also going to GW, because they also use GW's, and GW is as much up a creek without a paddle as IMF. Read my latest letter, WordPress, Quenby.com, I believe it is, or QuenbyWordPress.com, I'll have to look. To the president of GW. He's a recent one, and he came into Kalari, and I said, oh, because I didn't realize he was the president. And I said, oh, what department are you from? He said, I'm the president. I said, oh, sir. Yeah, I'm going to be taking the GW to the international courts. It's a kind of embarrassed. Well, I mean, I get involved in these conversations all the time. I found all my life I've been in this type of situations with the people in power, because I schmooze and I rubbing shoulders with them all, and I see them all at social functions, and sometimes I'll find out who they are, and I'll kind of be like, oh well. The same thing happened to me with Ann Patterson's sons. My brother was here, and we went out to dinner with his girlfriend's friend's husband. Ends up being Ann Patterson's son, Ambassador Ann Patterson. She was ambassador to Bogota when I was there. And I'm talking, and he's talking about, yeah, my mom was in Bogota and the embassy, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, what's your name? And he said Patterson. And I was like, oh gosh. Well, I won't say much more because I know your mother is. And I don't want to start a contentious conversation at this dinner table. But what I wanted to read, the RICO Act. So, all of these people think they're totally protected. They're in the protection racket. The lawyers will never come after them. Nobody will ever touch them. They've got diplomatic immunity. They're good to go. They can do anything they want. And believe me, I heard about the bullying and the domestic violence problems within the IMF. from almost the beginning when I was working at the IMF Family Association. The wives told me about it. They said it's horrible. So what do? They promote it. They promote couch casting, they promote bullying, they promote sexual harassment, and they encourage it. And they use taxpayers' money to do it. So, is this not fraud? So, Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act, RICO. An act of bribery, theft, embezzlement, fraud, obstruction of justice, slavery, racketeering, gambling, money laundering, and acts of terrorism. Now, I got them covered on just about every single one of them there. Okay? Aiding or assisting aliens in illegally entering the country if the action was financial gain. Now, technically, they're legally entering the country because they have their visas and the IMF gets them the visas. However, it's under false pretenses because they're coming into the country, the IMF is bringing them into the country to fulfill the mandate of the IMF. However, that's not their objective. Their objective is to promote their own interests, their pockets, further their career, grapple up the ladder of success and echelons of power, enrich themselves and their children, get their children, all of them are social climbers. I mean, all of them. I mean, Christine Lagarde, I think, is probably the only one, or one of the few who presents herself with some class and style. But if you see some pictures of her when she was in college, oh my Lord, whoever taught you how to dress? I mean, the typical, this is also, they're all the geeks, who just sat bookworm, studying, and have never lived. One of the problems, the sexual dysfunction of all of these guys, and while all of them, there's so many of them rapists, sexual harassers, pedophiles, and everything, because believe me, they're in there too, and they're covering up for them. I know some cases that need some serious investigation. And I want to know why Elizabeth LaGrange hasn't been on top of this. Oh, that woman, she is up Schitt's Creek without a paddle like you can't even believe. Really. So, technically, they're coming in legally. However, since it's under false pretenses, on the part of the IMF, as well as the employees coming in, because it's for money. I mean, as I say, within the expat literature, it's well documented that that's the motivation. So it's not for any noble cause or anything like that. If it was for some noble cause, you would have the staff screaming bloody murder. But nobody says pip. Because nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, it just, I thought, before I got back to the States, I thought I had, believe me, the stuff that I've seen in this world, pretty disgusting. And I thought I had seen the worst of the worst that I could possibly ever see. But, and Washington was bad in the 80s, and this is why I left. I couldn't, I had to, it was the stock market, it was right after the 87 drop, and almost all my money was in there, because I was working in the stock market, otherwise I wouldn't have had it in there. Somebody even was like, oh, I guess you can't go now, huh? It was like, they were happy. People are vicious. And I was like, no, I have to leave. I have to get out of this country. I have to get out of this city. I have to leave. And I was going to live with a family as an au pair. I was like, I'll just leave, live even, more cheaply than I thought. I mean, I didn't go there to party or anything like that. I went to find myself and to regroup and try and figure out what I was going to do in this crazy world, because everything that I wanted to do, politics, that had been, my life's ambition, and I came to this cesspool. I was like, I'm not getting involved in this. And so, then I got into financial markets. Yeah, it was fun trading. Gambling always is. But I didn't want to do that either. I said, to spend my life doing this, it's no life. It's a prison. And that's exactly what everybody in this city has gotten themselves into. So, and it is for financial gain. So we got that one covered. Subsection of 18 USCA 1962, government need not prove, defendant agreed with every other conspirator. So they don't have, everybody in the organization don't have to agree, be colluding. See, this is, we're going to get into what with Trump. So, every other conspirator knew all of the other conspirators or had full knowledge of all the details of the conspiracy. See? I got them covered on everything. So I guess we just wait until the bloodbath starts, or I can maybe hopefully find some lawyers to prevent the bloodbath. There's only two roads that this is going to go down. So, have a nice evening, everybody, and I'll see what book I do later.